It was a night, shrouded in shadows, a strange stillness hanging in the air. A sense of unease gripped the land of Egypt, where the sons of Jacob had unknowingly played their part in a long, unfolding drama. The same brothers who had once betrayed their brother Joseph now stood on the precipice of a new test, one that would reveal the depths of their hearts. What would this test reveal about the choices they had made years ago? And how would it lead them back to Joseph, the brother they had forgotten? The brothers, weary from their journey, had been invited to dine in the house of the powerful Egyptian ruler, whom they still did not recognize as their brother. Joseph, now a great leader, secretly orchestrated their every move, watching closely as they sat at his table. The meal was rich and full, yet there was an underlying tension, a sense that something greater was at play. Then Joseph commanded the steward of his house, "Fill the men's sacks with food, as much as they can carry, and put each man's silver in the mouth of his sack. And put my cup, the silver cup, in the sack of the youngest, with his grain." Genesis 44 verses 1-2. The next morning, as the brothers loaded their donkeys and prepared to leave, the tension in the air was thick. They had no idea that Joseph had set a trap for them. The steward, with the silver cup now hidden among the grain of Benjamin's sack, gave the signal to pursue them. When morning dawned, the men were sent away with their donkeys. They had gone only a short distance from the city when Joseph said to his steward, "Up, follow after the men. And when you overtake them, say to them, 'Why have you repaid evil for good?'" Genesis 44 verses 3-4. When the steward caught up with them, he accused the brothers of stealing from the ruler. Shocked and confused, the brothers insisted on their innocence, offering to return any goods they had taken. But the man said, "The one with whom it is found shall be my slave." And they quickly took down their sacks to the ground, and each man opened his sack. Genesis 44 verses 11-12. One by one, their sacks were searched, first Reuben's, then Simeon's, Levi's, and Judah's. But when the steward opened Benjamin's sack, there it was, the silver cup. The brothers tore their clothes in despair, realizing that the trap had been set for them. They returned to Joseph's house, helpless, as the steward and his men took Benjamin into custody. But it was Judah, the fourth son of Jacob, who stepped forward with a plea that would change the course of their story forever. Then Judah went up to him and said, "O my lord, let your servant speak a word in my lord's ears, and let not your anger burn against your servant, for you are like Pharaoh himself." Genesis 44 verse 18. Judah confessed that it was their father's great sorrow to lose another son. Benjamin was the last of Rachel's children, and his loss would break their father's heart. Judah offered himself as a substitute for Benjamin, pleading for the young boy's release. At that moment, Joseph could bear no more. He had seen enough. The brothers' hearts had changed. They were no longer the jealous, cruel men they had once been. With great emotion, Joseph finally revealed his identity to his brothers. Then Joseph could not control himself before all those who stood by him. He cried, "Make everyone go out from me." So no one stayed with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. And he wept aloud, so that the Egyptians heard it, and the household of Pharaoh heard it. Genesis 45 verses 1-2. He embraced his brothers, forgiving them for their past sin, and assured them that it had all been part of God's plan to save them and their family from the famine that ravaged the land. Joseph sent his brothers back to Canaan with provisions to bring their father, Jacob, to Egypt. The family reunion was beyond anything they could have hoped for. Joseph's forgiveness and God's plan for their survival were now clear, and a new chapter began for the family of Jacob. So they went up out of Egypt and came to the land of Canaan to their father Jacob. And they told him, "Joseph is still alive, and he is ruler over all the land of Egypt." And his heart became numb, for he did not believe them. Genesis 45 verses 25-26. But when they showed him the chariot that Joseph had sent for him, Jacob's heart was filled with joy and wonder. God had indeed made a way where there seemed to be no way. The story of Joseph and his brothers is one of forgiveness, redemption, and God's plan unfolding in unexpected ways. What seemed like a betrayal in the past became the means of saving a family, and through it all, God's sovereign hand was at work.